So I have a beef. I have a beef with all these get her back bros, save your relationship, do these tips and tricks, text like this, say these words. I understand where people are kind of coming from, but I also see it as a little bit manipulative because the goal is to get her back, not in transformation. And that's what my channel is all about. Transforming yourself to become a person where love can grow inside of you because you are a safe vessel for love, and you have the ability to love another person because you understand all of the necessary components and skills that love requires. This video is about that transformation process. This is about understanding your belief system, how beliefs are formed, and how do you actually work with your beliefs. It's tricky. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not a tips and tricks kind of thing. This takes dedicated work, just like anything else that's good in your life, whether that is the business that you've created or the degree that you earned or the weight that you've lost or the goals that you've achieved. There are not tips and tricks to fast track yourself to the top. It's mostly dedicated, consistent, hard work, and it requires effort and close scrutiny and examination of the things that are working and things that don't work. I'm not saying that there aren't better ways of going about doing it in a more efficient way. Absolutely, that is 100% what my course is efficiency. And it requires effort. Okay, let's get to it. I'm going to show you what your beliefs are, how they actually form, what schemas are, early maladaptive schemas that are beliefs, but they are dysfunctional beliefs. And I'm going to talk to you about how you kind of perpetuate that self-defeating cycle that everybody gets into when they are operating from schemas. And that's what makes your relationships and you dysfunctional. First off, what we have to be able to do is talk about what a belief actually is. So let's look at what a belief is. A belief is a mental shortcut. It allows us to be able to think very quickly, to interpret immediately and automatically so that we understand and know what we need to be able to feel and what we need to be able to do in any given experience without sitting and contemplating it. It's implied knowledge. Beliefs are defined as an acceptance that something exists or is true. Beliefs are also a representation of the world itself, like in the way that we kind of understand it, how we infer from it, and how we appraise and construct situations and perspectives to help us engage in the world in a very directed way. Beliefs also play a crucial role in forming your memories, planning for your future, and even shaping your sensory experiences through kind of like a top-down processing. So top-down meaning from your head down to your body processing. Let's look at what your brain is actually for. Now, I know there's thousands of things that your brain is doing on a day-to-day basis, but its essential functions are to keep you alive. Your brain is constantly integrating information from all different parts of your body and your environment so that it can generate an appropriate response, ensuring your survival. Now, why that's important is because if that is our brain's essential function, the environment in which a child is raised helps dictate what beliefs get generated during a time when that child is the most vulnerable, particularly in our childhood when we are very dependent on our parents because we must survive. We are looking towards our parents and our caregivers for what do I have to do to survive? And when we find those answers, when our brain finds those answers, we adapt. We adapt to survive. That is the essential function of our brain. If we are raised in a very loving home and it's really secure, we are free to explore our environment the way that we want, we feel very content and loved. And there's this kind of ability for us to be able to play and engage and all of that in a safe environment, free from fear and free from pain. And we really develop in a very healthy and functional way. However, not everybody is raised in those environments. A lot of people are raised in environments where mom and dad are having some degrees of problems because guess what? Most of us are flawed and we have issues and we don't always handle those issues well. So if you were raised in an environment that was unpredictable, if it was punitive, harsh, neglectful, you adapted to survive those circumstances and you adopted beliefs that allow you to do that. And those beliefs primarily were dependent on our survival skills, of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn as a way to get those needs met. In my program, Breaking Reactive Patterns, we talk a lot about schema beliefs. We talk about early maladaptive schema. Now that's a mouthful, so I usually just say schema for short. But early maladaptive schema are deeply embedded beliefs about yourself, other people, and the world that may have been adaptive at one point in your life, probably in childhood and your teens, to help keep you safe, but they're no longer adaptive in your adult life. Let me give you some examples. Maybe you were raised in an environment with a very critical parent, and you interpreted from those experiences the belief, I'm unlovable. In schema theory, we would say that that's an emotional deprivation schema or a defectiveness shame schema. Although that belief is very uncomfortable in having, we don't like it, it was adaptable back then because if we had to go toe to toe with our parents and stand up to our critical parent every single time with fight energy, we would likely been kicked out of the house, or maybe we didn't really know what would happen. People who kind of have an effectiveness shame schema tend to operate from fawn energy in their childhood, where they cower and cater to that critical parent. They adapt to survive by trying to be a people pleaser, trying to get on their good side, trying to make them happy in one way or another. But the messages of mom and dad kind of stick to us in some way or another, and we interpret that against ourselves, that I'm not a very lovable person or I'm deficient in some way. And that belief carried over into our adult life is what creates our self-defeating cycles. And I'm going to go into that here in a little bit. Or maybe you were raised in an environment that was abusive and you developed a mistrust schema. That schema says that other people are out to get me, essentially. They're going to hurt me, abuse me, humiliate me, cheat on me, manipulate me, lie to me. Essentially, I have to be on guard towards other people. Now, again, if you were raised in a very hostile environment, that belief served you well. But if you're no longer in that environment and you're carrying that belief out of your teen years and into adult life, and you think that everybody is out to get you, that's going to turn you into the victim. And it's going to sabotage your healthy relationships that you desperately want because you suspect your partner. You believe that they're going to hurt you. They're going to cheat on you. They're out to get you in some way. And when you put that on your partner, that's how you transmit your pain onto your partner and you turn the relationship dysfunctional. And that's what every schema does. Every schema is usually born out of childhood in your teens, and then you take that information in, it becomes a belief system, and then you transmit that belief system out. And when you transmit it out, that's where the dysfunction begins, and that's how the dysfunction perpetuates, and you end up creating reactivity in your relationship, defensiveness, stonewalling, contempt, shutdowns, avoidance, all of the things that make every relationship dysfunctional. So again, we have to kind of think about beliefs as like filters, or lenses in which we see the world. We don't see the world objectively. We see the world through our belief systems. So meaning that two people can look at the exact same event and see things totally differently, all based on their beliefs. For example, your partner doesn't return your text. If you have a dysfunctional schema of emotional deprivation, you may reason that I'm not important. As a result, you then feel rejected, that the text was not answered, and you might shut down from your partner, lash out, act needy, or feel sorry for yourself. As opposed to somebody who does not have that schema, their partner doesn't return their text, they interpret that, hey, people are busy. Maybe that person's caught up in something, or maybe they're, distracted. They feel very neutral about the experience, and then they just simply move on with their day. The dysfunctional belief is exactly that. It's dysfunctional because it's going to create dysfunctional behavior in you that makes your partner feel like they have to take care of you. They feel like they are walking on eggshells because they have to return your text within a certain amount of time. You might act in controlling ways. You may imply that they're doing something against you in some way because they weren't returning your text. It can go on and on and on because the dysfunctional belief is dysfunctional. So if you're holding on to that dysfunctional belief and you're projecting and transmitting it onto your partner, it is going to create this dysfunctional cycle in the relationship where the relationship starts to break down because safety is no longer there. As you can tell, beliefs trigger emotion, and that emotion activates your nervous system. And your nervous system is going to then get activated and create the reactions that you have to any given situation. That is all based on the beliefs that are coded inside of you that say this is what you do when these things happen. And keep in mind, nervous system activation in this entire process is automatic. We're not trying to do this. We just do this because we've been doing it for years and years and years. So it's automatic. This programming originally, again, was meant to keep you safe. But it becomes maladaptive the older you get, because you need to learn to be able to build skills to keep yourself safe that aren't based in survival. This is why just thinking differently or having somebody tell you to text like this or say these things or use these phrases doesn't work, because you have to work with your belief system to change the beliefs in order for you to have a much different experience overall. Incorporating new information to challenge the dysfunctional belief is absolutely necessary. It has to be intentional. You have to intentionally shift yourself to what you want to believe, not what you've always believed. Then in working with your body and the automatic responses that your body has, you have to learn how to be able to detect that fight, flight, freeze energy inside of you and then catch it. This is difficult. It's not easy to do because it's so automatic. But when we learn how to build the healthy adult and you learn the skills of love, then you also learn the skills of safety and wanting to protect yourself and your partner or your kids from your own dysfunctional tendencies. So that process of nervous system regulation, nervous system rewiring, it takes practice. This is what is meant when people say reprogramming yourself, rewiring your nervous system. It's this process that I'm talking about. And then finally, you have to have new corrective experiences with your new belief and your new reactions. Remember that your programming came from all of these thousands of experiences in your childhood, and you learned from those experiences. The reprogramming is, again, many, many, many experiences that you have to have in order for that new belief to take hold and take root. The benefit of being an adult is that it's far more purposeful now. It's intentional. You can create these experiences, and it doesn't take near as long to reprogram yourself as it did to program. Okay, so let's look at this chart. This is a chart that I use as a way to explain how this whole system works and a way for us to, sort out some examples here. At the top of the chart, you have the situation. That's basically essentially life. Life is happening, any given in situation that is interpreted by you, that's a situation. The next step is core beliefs. Life gets filtered through our beliefs. That's like I was saying, that we look at our life through a lens, and our lenses are our belief systems. As a situation is occurring, you interpret that situation through your core beliefs. As a result, you get the emotions that you feel. And those emotions contain within them your nervous system activation. That is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. That is the deepest response that we have when it comes to survival, keeping us alive. But on top of that are all these different layered emotions that we have to maybe learn to pay attention to. The next step is behavior or reactivity. This is what we do in response to what we think, what we interpret, and how we feel. Once we act on those thoughts and feelings, we get the outcome. And then the outcome then reinforces the belief in one way or another. If we're trying to correct a belief and trying to reinforce a healthy belief, it will do that based off of the outcome that we get. If we are unconscious and we're just reacting from our schema beliefs, the outcome will reinforce those schema beliefs. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. First, let's talk about the dysfunctional example. A husband and wife have been married for 10 years, and they're really kind of like seeing a slowdown in their intimacy. The husband, who has a higher libido than the wife, wants to have more intimacy. The situation is that they're lying in bed together. He reaches over and makes some bids for affection, and she doesn't seem to be in the mood. He then interprets that through a belief that says, I'm not loved, she doesn't care about me, because he was raised in a family of emotional deprivation where he didn't get love, affection, connection, understanding, warmth, attention, approval. He got a lot of rejection, criticism. He then interprets this as rejection, and so he projects that, transmits that onto his wife. You don't care about me. You're never in the mood. I didn't sign up for this. And he does it in this really crappy way. His tone of voice is rude. He's talking down to her. He's kind of contemptuous about that. What do you think the outcome is going to be? His wife feels hurt. She feels angry. She feels shut down. She is going to pull away from him and want to avoid him because she is now associating intimacy with pain, because she is going to pull away and she's going to get upset and she's going to walk away, get out of the room, is then going to reinforce the belief that the husband has that he is not lovable, not wanted, isn't cared about, and the cycle perpetuates. Now let's look at the exact same situation from the perspective of somebody who takes my program, adopts healthy beliefs about this, and see what the outcome is. Same situation. Husband wants intimacy. He reaches over, makes a bid for affection with his wife. She rejects that and says, I'm not in the mood tonight. His core belief that gets changed recognizes that in order for his wife to connect to him on an intimate level, she needs to feel safe and secure. He interprets that as she's just not in the mood. It has nothing to do with whether or not she loves you or cares about you. So his emotion is neutral and his behavior is loving and considerate. And he puts his arm around her and says, that's okay. It's not a big deal. The outcome is that she feels safe with her partner. She feels able to express how she feels in a free way without fear of his reactions. She's able to say how she feels and what she's thinking, what she wants, what she doesn't want. And that reinforces the idea that the relationship is healthy and that his behavior and his belief are matching up, that he is trying to create a safe and loving environment for his spouse. And that makes her want to be closer to him because she's having a corrective experience with him, that he's no longer upset or he doesn't blow up or he doesn't accuse her of things when he's being rejected. Here are some steps that you can do to start to change your relationship with your beliefs by examining them, looking at them, and transforming them. Number one, everything in psychology begins with awareness. You must be aware of your patterns, your reactions, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors in order to change them. Learn how to notice that fight, flight, freeze, fawn energy in your body, what that feels like. This is typically found after you've been triggered. Once something triggers you, you notice the sensations in your body and you learn to ask yourself the question, what does this mean? What am I making this mean? You then need to pause and regulate. That regulation is crucial. So awareness first, pause second, regulation third. That includes slow breathing, talking to yourself to downshift the nervous system. Instead of making it go up and like you go into survival mode, you recognize that I'm not under any threat. This is not a threat. Like my kids' rooms being messy is not a threat. My wife rejecting me is not a threat. I have to be able to see the difference between a real threat and an imagined threat. Schemas make us see a lens through that filter of threats that we feel like being told no is a threat, or the kid's making a mess is a threat. And the way that I have to handle that is by being loud and aggressive or shutting down and running away. They're not threats. Your kid's room is not a threat. So you pause, you breathe, you tell yourself this is not a threat. We are downshifting the nervous system. We are trying to be calm in the situation so that I can think clearly. You cannot think clearly when you feel like you're under a threat. Track your patterns. This is when a journal is really helpful to use, to be able to see the patterns, like writing them out, using that flow chart that I just showed to you so you can understand what is the situation. What am I making that situation mean? This is done without any judgment. We're not judging what you make it mean, because if it's a dysfunctional belief, you're going to make it mean something that seems irrational and cuckoo. The reason why is because it's dysfunctional. You want to be honest with yourself, and you want to be able to give yourself very honest feedback that this is what I'm making it mean. And the more you can see it, especially if it's irrational, the more you can then poke holes in it with the next step, which is reality testing and critical thinking. That's when you start asking questions about the belief. You start asking questions about, what does this actually mean to me? And is there any other way to make it mean something else? Can I see it in a different perspective? Would I say the same thing to a friend? Would I give this advice to somebody I love? Is this really who they are? You see, the more you can poke holes in a dysfunctional belief and you can see it for what it is, the more the belief starts to fall apart. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. Learning about schemas, dysfunctional beliefs, learning about how your dysfunctional beliefs are tied into your nervous system, your emotions, and your behavior, and how all of that in combination creates the self-defeating cycle is crucial in your transformation. If you are not doing this, you're just trying to hack the system. You're focused on what you do, your behavior, which is at the very end of that process. And when you change behavior, that doesn't necessarily change your beliefs. You're basically just kind of like faking it. I'm changing a behavior, but I don't really care about changing the belief that's running the behavior. So eventually, that's when the behavior falls apart. And I hear it all the time in therapy. I'll have somebody come into therapy. We're working on learning how to set boundaries and talking to your partner and learning how to be able to shift the relationship. And when that person says to their partner, here's the things that need to be done in a different way in the side of this relationship, because I cannot keep doing the same thing. They'll come back and they'll say to me things like, oh yeah, she did that for about 3 weeks and then it went right back to the way it was after she promised that she was going to change, right? It's because she was trying to change her behavior and not really changing her beliefs. Your beliefs are running the show. If you don't change your beliefs and you're just trying to change behavior, you're going completely backwards. If you're listening to this and you think this is exactly what I need, I have got to learn how to change my beliefs. I understand that I have terrible reactions. I understand that I hurt the people that I love. I have to change my beliefs. Schedule a discovery call with me. The links are below this video. I want you to know that there is a better way. There are the tips and tricks people out there that try to just help you learn how to hack a relationship that I find to be rather revolting. And then there's real transformation based on science, research, understanding theory, and knowing the steps to actually do the job and get it done. So if you want the real deal, you want to schedule a discovery call with me, the links are below. And as always, thank you so much for watching this.